1, 2, 3. Hello, welcome. I have to do it again. 1, 2, 3. Hi everybody, welcome to Stolen Mangoes Book Club. I'm Tara.
And I'm Jaina.
It's our second video, and we're doing types of videos like the one today where we're discussing our least favorite books of 2020. As in the last YouTube video, we talked about our favorite books of 2020, and we gave you a little hint to our least favorites, but today we're just going to be elaborating on that.
Yeah.
So each of us has 2 of books we just straight up did not like, and then 1 book we're disappointed by. If you're a person that likes any of these books, don't be offended.
Don't be offended.
You know,
personal opinions.
Exactly.
That's what we're sharing here.
Let's just get started. Jaina, do you want to go first?
Alright, it's one I previewed in last video, and it is Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff. Now, this was my least favorite book of 2020 by far, and I even said in the last video it might be my least favorite book I've ever read, which is a pretty big statement, and I sort of wanted to start by saying I do admire Lauren Groff for writing this book. So I feel a little bad being like, I hated this book with every ounce of my body.
This is the video.
I know,
I
just have to do it, but at the same time I want to be like, I give her credit because she wrote this book. It was honestly pretty long, and I feel like she had an idea and she executed it. So I give her credit for that, but the idea wasn't for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just did not like the book. Well, essentially the book is about these 2 people who get married at the end of college, and then it just follows them. And the guy in the relationship, Lancelot, he is this actor turned playwright. But here's the thing. Both characters, and it really only develops 2 characters, and both of them are very unlikable. I did not like either one of them. In fact, I strongly disliked them both. And so, I didn't like the characters, and there wasn't a plot, really. Like, it's just following them through time. So, it's not plot-driven. It's character-driven, and you hate the characters.
Doesn't work.
And that's not a recipe for a good book. I'm curious, though, if people who are more in the theater world would appreciate the book in a way that I didn't. But that being said, I'm a lover of the arts. Like, we performed as dancers and stuff, and it still didn't really work for me. My least favorite parts of the book usually were when I had to read the plays that were being written, and I was just sort of like, I don't want to be reading this, like, it doesn't make sense, it's a little excerpt, and it just really wasn't good. So it was long. I don't even know why I read the whole thing. That's my thing that I come to at the end, like, I hated it so much, basically from the beginning. Why did I finish it? It just
Sometimes you just do.
Yeah, and it just sort of got to the point where I was like more than halfway done, and so it was like, I might as well just finish this. I don't know, I mean, if somebody likes the book, I'd be interested to hear their thoughts and what they enjoyed about it, but I would never recommend this book to anybody. I just had no enjoyment throughout the entire reading process. So, yeah, sorry to say it, but Fates and Furies was not it for me.
I'm not reading it, I'll tell you that. My next book, as I alluded to in the previous video, is Call Me By Your Name.
I feel like this is the most controversial one.
This is the most controversial opinion of this entire video. Because a lot of people like this book, and a lot of people they live and die for this book.
Yeah.
But
I think people will judge you for this. But I respect it. I respect it. Own your truth.
Yeah, look, I'm not going back on my opinion here. You can try to make me disagree or to take it back, but I'm not gonna. So basically, here's what I didn't like about this book. I think it's like, the writing style is just really overblown to me. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but it's too, look, we're introspective people. We like talking about feelings and our thoughts, whatever. We love that, okay? Who doesn't? Except for people who don't. But, so going into this, I should be a person that, like, appreciates that, but the main character of this book, what is his name? So we've got Oliver.
This is how little she respects the book, that she doesn't even know.
I know.
The character.
Wait, this is bad.
I think it starts with an E.
Emilio?
Something like that, I think. I just crack up when I see the tea stain on the bottom of the book. Wait, what's his name? This is taking so
I don't know because
long.
it's in first person, so he doesn't really say his
Oh
name
my
much.
god.
I think his name is Emilio.
Okay, you talk about it. I'll look for his
Alright.
name to confirm.
He is very, like, he just talks so much about his thoughts, and he goes, like, so deep, and it's this whole, like, oh, will they, won't they, is it gonna happen or not? It just gets too far back into his brain. Like, I feel like I need it more in the moment. Like, I need more action.
I get that.
And then also, you know, this will be a theme with the books I picked, but romance didn't really do it for me. I want to like romance because I like rom-coms, but the books that I read that are like romance just didn't butter my biscuit.
His name is
it's not in the book.
Does he have a name?
Maybe he's the guy with no name.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you have a desire to see the movie after having read the book?
Maybe. A lot of people really like the movie that haven't read the book, and you know, I appreciate Timothée Chalamet and
Elio.
Elio! Like Elio's Pizza. Maybe it's Elio.
I don't know how to say it. It's probably Elio. Elio
Yeah,
sounds
Elio.
a little Americanized.
I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, movie, maybe yes, maybe no.
Okay, so this one I'm worried is a little controversial as well.
Everything's controversial.
It's Sing Unburied Sing by Jesmyn Ward.
Yeah, that probably is a little bit
And
controversial.
here's my thing. Again, nothing against Jesmyn Ward. In fact, I think she's probably a pretty good writer. It wasn't the writing of the book itself that bothered me, and I want to read Salvage the Bones.
Yeah.
Because I know you read
Yeah,
that,
I read Salvage
and
the
I think
Bones.
I would like that much better than Sing Unburied Sing. My thing with Sing Unburied Sing was there was an aspect of it that was a little too fictional for me. Do you know what I mean? I just couldn't get into it because of this one thing, which I don't want to
What was the
spoil.
thing?
It's sort of like ghosts.
Okay.
The ghosts are characters, sort of. And it was just like, that was sort of hard for me to read. I don't know why. Again, I think that was very much a style thing. Like, I just think that book was a type of fiction and a style that just isn't me.
Sure.
And I can see, so this is one a little different than Fates and Furies, where I can sort of see people who really enjoyed it and understand, like, it's a really interesting subject. She writes about it in a cool way. Like, I can appreciate that, but don't recommend books to me that are similar to that because I probably won't like it. Then again, that makes me curious about Salvage the Bones because it's by the same author, so who, you know, what's to say that I would like that better? I just sort of have a feeling. So maybe I'll try to read Salvage the Bones as one of my next books.
Yeah, give
To
it a
sort
try.
of see, you know, was there something different? I think part of it was I expected to really like it because I know a lot of people do. And so when I read it, and the whole time it was sort of, it wasn't a book I wanted to pick up and read, you know.
Was it on Obama's book list?
I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe. But I didn't want to keep reading it. I kind of had to force myself through it, which is a sign that, you know, it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Had to put it on there. Had to be truthful.
Makes sense.
You're always gonna get the truth here at Stolen Mango's book.
Yeah.
Get
You're like,
up the
fine.
energy.
Okay, next book is The Kiss Quotient.
Mm.
Another romance book that I wanted to read because I wanted to read romance, and I was like, cool, this book has really good representation. It follows a girl with autism and her sort of dipping her toes into the dating world. Put that away. I don't know. I don't really want to go into the plot, but it's just a lot for me, and I just didn't really dig it. And I just didn't like it. I don't know. I can't really go into it without like spoiling, or I guess talking about, I don't know, the stuff I didn't like. Bad description, but I mean, go out, you know, other people on YouTube want you to read this book, so go over to other people's channels if you want to hear about it and if you want to read it. But as for me, wasn't my jam.
I have to say, I know that we both like romance a lot,
I don't think we like romance,
but not as a genre,
romance
not
books,
as
yeah.
romance books. We like romance. We like the
as an
ideas
element
of it.
of the story.
And I think that's the key.
wasn't really worth it.
And I'm glad. This was another instance where I thought maybe I want to read it. And then
She
your
didn't read
review was so poor that I was sort of like, okay, it's probably not for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fine. Good. So, my last book. Now,
This is the disappointment.
this is the disappointment. So, I'm not saying this was my least favorite book. In fact, it's a book I enjoyed, I think, reading. And I think I gave it 3 or 4 stars. Like, it was a good book, but it let me down from what I was expecting. So, It's Such a Fun Age is the book. And I think part of it was this book had really high expectations.
Yeah.
Because again,
a lot of hype.
this was really popular, and I knew a lot of people who were reading it and really enjoyed it, and it sort of just seemed like I was seeing it in book clubs popping up all over the place. So you read it first from the library, then I read it. And yeah, I think it's a little unfair how high the expectations were, because that's part of why it let me down. You know what I mean? I wasn't going into it with no idea of what to expect. So the thing I think it does really well is sort of talk about how white people can sort of compete with each other about like who's the least racist.
Yeah,
And
I think that's interesting. Not a lot of books,
Yeah.
as far as I know, have that sort of theme.
And I think Kylie Reid does a good job displaying that with the 2 characters, Alex and Kelly. Yeah, and I also think that it does a good job of looking at how white people like rely on black people to tell them you're not racist, or to sort of need that affirmation from them and putting this unnecessary burden, you know, to try to seem themselves like they're super progressive. It was good for me to read, and I think both of us to read,
Yeah.
as people who are half white, half Indian, and just like understand what it can be like from the perspective of a black person to watch these white people be like, I'm not racist, you know, like,
Yeah.
do the work yourself, read books, try to be anti-racist, and don't put the burden on black people to like teach you and confirm to make you feel better. But then the things that disappointed me were, one, Amira wasn't developed as a character enough for me. Like,
She didn't exist outside of the storyline.
Right.
I feel.
Yeah, and so she's a central character, and I was just sort of like, can we get more about her? Because I felt like that was an important thing too, saying her identity is about more than just her race. And that was true in the book, but then you're like, okay, well, what's her identity? I
Yeah.
want to learn about her. Like,
No, her only thing was she needed a job. And
Yeah.
you know, maybe that was the only thing on her mind.
but it's not. Everybody's about
But-
more than that.
Yeah, I think she had more to her that
Right.
wasn't really there.
And she's writing about, like, Kylie Reid is writing about Amira at a cool age where I think a lot of people can relate to feeling lost. I relate a little bit, being like, I need a job, but what do I want to do with my life? Like, what's my career path? But it just sort of was left at that, and I wish that was explored a little bit more in it. Alex as a character, I just felt like, maybe on purpose, was just so annoying and problematic.
Yeah, no, that's probably on purpose.
And I think that was on purpose. But then, this is a criticism of the book. I'd be curious if other people agreed with it. I think it's specific to me, but I was sort of triggered by the book at some points because I felt like thinness was a big part of it. Just in terms of how the characters would be described as being thin. And I felt like it wasn't just a description so that you could picture them in your head. I feel like it was saying this person is thin and it's a part of their identity of being like super high achieving, or it's a part of their identity as somebody who appears beautiful. I don't know, I was just sort of triggered that it felt like that was always really front and center in how people were described. And for me, as somebody in recovery from an eating disorder, I was just sort of like, I wish maybe like that was done a little differently so that it didn't seem like thin equals beautiful.
Here's what I'll say about that. I think that in terms of how Amira is described, it is constant, or at least I feel like it's constant, is thinness is like a quality or something of Amira. But then I go back and forth because there is a lot of discussion in terms of like Alex and her friends talking about her needing to lose like weight or something.
Yes, that is
Wait.
a huge thing.
But then here's my thing, is I can't decide if that was part of like making Alex into this really like rolling your eyes at her type character who's like so concerned with how she's perceived.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, like I think overall it was just an unnecessary part of the plot.
It wasn't interrogated enough.
Oh, also I have one thing to add.
Okay, yeah.
What was up with her name being A-L-I-X? So then my last book that disappointed me is Ask Again Yes. Jaina has not read this.
Probably
And it is like 3 months overdue at the library, so we really got to get this one back. I enjoyed it. I read it in a few days. It was super easy.
Pretty cover.
But I just had really high hopes for it. Reveals the way that childhood memories change when viewed from the distance of adulthood. Okay?
Ooh.
That sounds really
Right.
good. I don't know.
I like that. That last thing, from the distance of adulthood.
Exactly. You know, it's a little
Fascinating.
spicy. It's interesting. But reading this, I don't know. It just didn't. I keep on saying it didn't do it for me, but that's the only way to describe it. It's another book, sort of like Such a Fun Age, that the whole storyline seems to revolve around this one moment. And, you know, that's fine, but for me, if it revolves around that one moment, it has to be very believable and something I'm not gonna, like, get tired of thinking about. And the moment in this book, I remember. Oh, shoot. I don't want to spoil things for people that read this book because, like, it is like, shoot, that just happened. But yeah, for me, it was sort of sudden. It wasn't believable. And, you know, it does follow, what are their names? Kate and Peter. And their love just, I don't know, didn't like transcend this book into like something great. It sort of was just like, they're living their life together. And I guess maybe that's what it's meant to be, but
Books like that are tricky. Books
Yeah.
like that where it's sort of a simple thing, they can easily fall flat, I think. So this is a very pretty cover.
beautiful. Yes, again, the cover makes me like, oh my god.
And this was similar to Fates and Furies. And this is we both judge books by the cover.
I
If
mean,
it's- yeah, everybody does. To a
yeah,
certain
what
extent.
else do you have to
Right.
judge a book by?
And so if it's pretty, you sort of are like, oh, maybe this is going to be really interesting. And then that reminds me of Fates and Furies too. I am such like a snob for book awards.
Oh, she is such a snob for book award
a
book
book-
lists.
Yeah, if a book was like on the New York Times top 100, especially top 10 of the year, I'm probably gonna be willing to buy it.
Yeah.
And also if it was like shortlisted for Man Booker or like got a national book, anything like that, I'm like,
She's a
okay,
sucker.
it's automatically confirmed that some people really enjoyed this book. And that happened with Fates and Furies too. So I was like extra disappointed because I felt unsure of how people wanted to give an award. But then again, that just goes to show that my opinion is that of only one person. So, but 2020 overall was a good year. I was sort of scraping the barrel trying to find the books that I didn't like.
Yeah.
Sing and Buried Sing and Fates and Furies, that was like sort of it that I could say I really didn't like.
Clarify. It was a good year for reading.
Yeah, so this was episode 2 of Soul Manga's book club. We're gonna try to post a lot more videos, so keep checking back,
Yeah.
subscribe.
Turn that
Like-
bell on.
Oh!
Do you know what that means?
I'm not as proficient in YouTube as Tara is.
When you ask to turn the bell on, you all know this because you're watching. But for Jana's sake, it's so they get notified when you put a video on.
Very good. Yeah, and then leave comments, tell us what books you didn't like.
Yeah. Let's get some fierce debate going in the comments.
We love that.
But respectful.
always respectful.
Always respectful.
Yeah, so we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.